They left me at a train station when I was just 9 years old and laughed as the train doors closed. Let's see how she gets home alone, ha. That's what they said, but I never went back. Not because I couldn't, but because something in me shattered that day. Now, 22 years later, I own a $257 million company, and they're blowing up my phone, crying, begging, panicking. Why? Because they need me. And I still remember what it felt like, watching their backs disappear behind the train window. You want to know what I did when they finally found me? Well, this is my story. My name is Emily. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, in a house with chipped white paint and hollow walls that echoed with more silence than laughter. From the outside, we looked like a normal family. Mom worked at the local bakery, Dad at a hardware store. But behind the thin curtains, the truth was different. My parents didn't exactly love parenting. They loved control. They loved sarcasm. They loved putting me in situations just to see how I'd react. Character building, Dad would say when he locked the fridge and told me to figure it out if I was hungry. Mom, she'd shrug. You're old enough to look after yourself. I was 7 when I started cooking my own dinners. Eggs and toast mostly. Sometimes just toast. They didn't hit me. Not in the way people think. But their words, sharp, dismissive, cold, cut deeper than a belt ever could. You're too sensitive. Why do you cry so easily? She won't survive one day in the real world. Maybe that's why I always had my small purple backpack packed. Just in case. I'd tuck away my library card, a flashlight, an old picture of my grandma, and a granola bar. I had this silly belief that if things ever got too bad, I could just run away and survive. I was 9. What did I know? School was my safe place. I liked the smell of paper, the hum of fluorescent lights, the feel of a desk under my fingertips. Mrs. Raymond, my 4th grade teacher, once told me I had a mind for big things. I clung to that sentence like a life raft. Still, deep inside, I craved my parents' approval. Every drawing, every spelling bee ribbon, I'd hold it up, eyes wide with hope. Meh, Dad would grunt, never looking up from the TV. Try harder next time, Mom would say, already on her way to the kitchen. The train station incident wasn't just an accident. It wasn't a we forgot or a misunderstanding. It was planned. They said it in the car on the way there. I bet she cries the minute we pull away, Mom chuckled. Nah, she's tough, Dad added. She'll figure it out. It'll be funny. I remember clutching my ticket like it was sacred, sitting on the cold, metal bench. My legs dangled. My sneakers didn't touch the ground. I watched other families holding hands, laughing, traveling together. I waited for mine to come back. The train came. The doors opened. Dad leaned over and whispered, "Let's see how you get home, genius." They stepped back. The doors closed. The train pulled away with me still sitting there. Alone. At first, I thought it was a joke. I waited. An hour. 2. The sun dipped. The shadows grew. The lights buzzed above me, harsh and yellow. My stomach growled. I held back tears. But when it got dark, I knew they weren't coming back. And that was the day something inside me changed. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stood up, picked up my little purple backpack, and I walked out of the station into the world completely alone. The streets outside the train station were loud, unfamiliar, and full of faces that didn't know me. The night air felt colder than it should have in June. I remember the hum of cars passing, the smell of fried food from a cart, the screech of brakes. I kept walking. I didn't even know where I was walking to. My legs just moved. A kind woman working at a small, 24-hour diner saw me sitting on a curb, holding my backpack like it was a shield. Her name was Karen. Ironic, I know, but she wasn't that kind of Karen. She brought me a grilled cheese sandwich and a cup of water. She crouched beside me. "Where are your parents, honey?" she asked gently. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat had a lump the size of a baseball in it. She called the police. They took me in, asked me questions. I didn't say much, just that my parents had left me at the train station. I was placed into temporary care. They contacted my parents, of course, left voicemails, sent a patrol car. No one answered. No one showed up. Not the first day. Not the second. Not ever. I remember overhearing one of the officers on the phone. They said it was a joke, a parenting tactic, to build resilience. I was 9. What kind of joke is that? By week 3, the state declared me abandoned. That word hit me like a freight train. Abandoned, not lost, not misunderstood, not ran away. Abandoned. I was placed into the system. Foster care. Let me tell you something about foster care. It's not like the movies. No warm cookies. No magical reunions. Just cold rooms, rotating guardians, and other kids with stories that would break your heart if you let them in. I learned quickly that trust was a luxury. Love? A risk. I kept my head down. I did well in school. I didn't talk back. I made myself small, invisible. That way, no one could hurt me again. But inside, I was on fire. Every report card with straight A's, I mailed it to my parents' old address. No return address. Just to let them know I was still here. Every trophy, every award, I imagined shoving it into their smug faces. Look who's surviving, I'd whisper to myself. At 13, I got placed with a woman named Angela. She was different, tough but kind. She had a crooked smile and a no-nonsense voice. She didn't ask too many questions, and she didn't pity me. She handed me a book on entrepreneurship on my second week there and said, "You've got grit. Learn to use it." I devoured it. Then another. Then another. By 15, I was selling handmade beaded bracelets online. By 16, I built a tiny website offering homework help to middle schoolers for $5 an assignment. By 18, I aged out of the system with no family, no college fund, but $14,000 in my savings account from years of small hustles. I rented a basement apartment, got a job at a tech repair shop, and studied every night online. Failure wasn't an option. Going back wasn't an option, because there was no back. My parents never looked for me, never filed a missing child report. Nothing. I Googled them once at 19. Still lived in the same town. Still went to the same supermarket. They just moved on. Like I was a stain they scrubbed out. It hurt. God, it hurt. But it also fueled me. At 23, I launched my first real business, a virtual learning platform for kids in underserved schools. It took off. Within a year, I had angel investors. Within 3, we were in 6 states. I kept my name, Emily Carter, but I buried my past. I told people my parents died. In a way, they did. But the pain? It lived on. Quietly. Underneath the suits, the meetings, the fake smiles for press photos. I still woke up at 3 a.m. some nights, sweating, my 9-year-old self curled up inside me, whispering, "They didn't want us. They left us." The world applauded my success. Forbes, TechCrunch, Entrepreneur magazine. I was the girl who rose from nothing. What they didn't know is I wasn't nothing. I was a child someone chose to leave behind. And then one day it happened. An email. Subject line, "Are you Emily Carter?" The body read, I think I'm your mother. We saw your story in a magazine. Please call us. We need to talk. It's important. It's urgent. We're so sorry." My blood ran cold. 22 years. And suddenly they needed me. When I read that email, I froze. The screen blurred. My hands trembled so badly I had to place them in my lap. For a long minute, I just sat there, staring at those words. "I think I'm your mother." No name. No warmth. Just a desperate guess, I hadn't seen or heard from them in over 2 decades. Not a birthday card. Not a call. Not even a half-hearted social media message. And now, after 22 years of silence, suddenly I was important? I didn't respond. For a week, I kept checking the inbox obsessively, as if the pixels on the screen could explain what was happening. More emails followed. "We're so proud of what you've become. We know we messed up. Please call us. It's about your father's health. It's serious. We're your parents. We love you." That last one made me laugh out loud. Love? They loved the idea of me now, maybe. The wealthy, self-made success story with headlines and investors and a jaw-dropping net worth. But not the real me. not the scared little girl they left alone on a train bench. I started to spiral. I couldn't focus. Meetings blurred. I'd stare out of windows, memories flooding back. Dad's smirk as the train doors closed. Mom's laughter in the car before they left me. My knees swinging under the bench, not touching the floor. I called Angela, the closest thing I ever had to a mother. She picked up on the second ring. "Talk to me, sweetheart," she said like she always did. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long while before she finally said, "Are you okay?" "No," I whispered. "Do you want to meet them?" "I don't know." She exhaled deeply. "You don't owe them anything. But if there's something in your heart that needs closure, just make sure you stay in control." That stuck with me. You stay in control. That night, I pulled out an old shoebox from the back of my closet. Inside were things I hadn't looked at in years. The purple backpack, a faded picture of my grandma, my 4th grade report card, a note from Mrs. Raymond. "You are not what people say you are. You are what you decide to be." And just like that, the tears came. Not soft, cinematic ones. Ugly, messy, gut-wrenching sobs. I cried for 9-year-old me. For the girl who sat on a metal bench, waiting for people who never looked back. For the teen who lied and said she was fine. For the woman who still sometimes woke up feeling like an unwanted mistake. When the sun came up, my face was puffy and sore. But something inside had shifted. I opened the laptop. I typed a short reply. "What do you want?" Minutes later, my phone rang. I didn't answer, but I listened to the voicemail. "Emily, it's Mom. I can't believe it's really you. Your father, he's very sick. We didn't know you were doing so well, and when we saw you in that article, we knew we had to try. We miss you. Please, honey, can we talk? Please." Miss me? Like I had gone on vacation? I wanted to scream. But curiosity, that old cursed thing, crept in. I searched their names. Found a picture from a local Facebook group. There they were. Same town. Same faces, just older. My father in a wheelchair. My mother holding his hand. In the caption, "Prayers needed for a beloved member of our community." Beloved? I scrolled through the comments. "So sorry to hear. He's a good man. Hope he gets better soon." I nearly threw my laptop across the room. Good man? A good man doesn't abandon a child at a train station for a joke. And then another message popped in. From a cousin I barely remembered. "Hey, Emily, don't know if you remember me, but Aunt Linda told us what happened. They're scared. Their house might go into foreclosure. Your business, they think you might be able to help." And there it was. Not love. Not regret. Not family. Money. They didn't come back for me. They came for what I built. That night I drove. I didn't know where I was going, but I just drove. Windows down. Music off. My thoughts were so loud. I ended up parked outside the very same train station. It hadn't changed much. Still gray. Still cold. Still echoing with old ghosts. I walked to the same bench. Sat down. Closed my eyes. I imagined 9-year-old me. Knees swinging, fists clenched, trying not to cry. I whispered to her, "We made it." And then I made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to rage. I was going to show them the cost of their choices. Not with fury, but with silence, with grace, and with success so deafening it left them choking. Revenge didn't have to be loud. Sometimes the quietest kind hurt the most. The next morning, I walked into my office with a new kind of fire in my chest. Calm, focused, surgical. I wasn't going to yell at them. I wasn't going to cry in front of them. No. My revenge would be slow, intentional, and absolute. I would let them witness everything they threw away, but never give them a single piece of it. I started by writing a list. It was simple. Let them see the empire I built. Never let them touch a cent of it. Give them just enough hope, then pull away. Step 1 was already complete. After all, the Forbes article had done more than announce my name. It had plastered my story all over the internet. Abandoned at a train station. Now worth $257 million. I knew that article was how they found me, and I made sure more followed. I accepted every interview, every podcast, every panel invite. I told my story not to be petty, but because I owned it now. The more I shared it, the more power I took back. One headline read, "She was left behind. Now she owns the tracks." Poetic. I even released a personal essay to the ones who left me behind. I never used their names, but they knew. The whole town knew. Step 2? That took restraint. Their emails got more desperate. One even said, "We're not asking for millions, just enough to help with Dad's medicine. We can't afford to lose the house." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I forwarded it to my assistant and said, "If anyone from this list contacts me, block them. Permanently. No callbacks. No responses." But I wasn't done. Step 3, that was the hardest. I had to let them think they were getting somewhere. I set up a burner email and replied from a generic assistant account. Polite. Formal. "Thank you for your message. Ms. Emily is aware of your situation. She's currently considering options and will revert in due time." It was just enough. The emails back were full of gratitude. "Thank you. Please tell her we love her. We're so proud. So sorry for the past." But every word they wrote only reminded me how fake it all was. Where was this love when I was sleeping in youth shelters? Where was this pride when I got into college on a full ride scholarship? Still, I kept feeding them small updates. "Emily is currently overseas on business, but sends her regards. Due to her travel schedule, she's unable to speak directly at this time." And then the Piece de Resistance, a philanthropy gala held in my hometown. My company sponsored it under my name. I was the keynote speaker. I knew they'd come. How could they resist? I made sure they got personal invitations. To Mr. and Mrs. Harding, you are cordially invited to an exclusive evening celebrating resilience, transformation, and impact, hosted by Emily Harding, founder and CEO of Harding Innovations. My therapist thought I shouldn't go through with it. "You're inviting the very people who hurt you," she warned. But I wasn't inviting them back into my life. I was inviting them into a museum of what they lost. I arrived that evening in a midnight blue gown, confident and calm. Reporters took photos. Guests clapped. I shook hands with mayors and CEOs. Then I saw them. My mother wore an old church dress, trying to look elegant. My father sat beside her in his wheelchair, pale and thin. Both of them looked like ghosts of the people I remembered. I didn't approach them. Instead, I watched from across the room as they followed my every move with wide, stunned eyes. They looked like people realizing they'd thrown a winning lottery ticket into a dumpster 22 years ago. When I went on stage, I began with, "Good evening. I want to tell you a story about a girl who was left behind at a train station. Alone. Scared, but determined." The room went silent. As I spoke, I saw my mother bury her face in her hands. My father stared down at his lap. A man next to them, maybe a family friend, whispered something. They nodded slowly, shame washing over them like a wave. But I didn't speak to them. I spoke to the crowd, to everyone who had ever been discarded, doubted, or abandoned. I built something beautiful out of the very pieces meant to break me. That line got a standing ovation. After the speech, people lined up to congratulate me, but my parents stayed seated, unsure, hesitant. They finally stood and began walking toward me. I turned, and I walked the other way, out the grand doors, into my waiting car, not once looking back. They saw me. They heard me, but they could no longer reach me. I didn't need to scream at them. I didn't need to curse, demand answers, or beg for closure. My silence was louder than any confrontation. That gala night became the final nail. Reporters picked up the story and spun it with headlines like, "Runaway Success. Emily Harding confronts her past without a word." The girl they left behind now owns the room they entered. I didn't pay them to write those lines. Life did. In the weeks that followed, their messages became a blur of desperation. "Please, Emily, we came to the gala. We saw what you've done. We're proud of you. Can we talk? Your dad's getting worse. Just call, please. He cries every night. It was a stupid joke, Emily. We thought we were teaching you to be strong. We didn't know it would go that far. Please forgive us. But here's the truth. They weren't sorry they left me at that train station. They were sorry I never came back. They weren't proud of me. They were stunned that the child they threw away became a legend. And they weren't asking to reconnect. They were begging to be rescued from the life they created without me. So I did one final thing. I had my legal team send a letter. Not from me, but from my foundation. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Harding, this letter is to inform you that Emily Harding, founder of the Harding Hope Fund, has made a donation of $50,000 to the Children's Aid Shelter of Springfield, the very shelter where she found refuge after being left behind as a child. This donation is made in your honor. No reply is necessary. All future communications will be directed to her legal team. It was elegant, cold, final, the same way they left me. But now I was the one leaving. They called. We didn't answer. They knocked. No door opened. They posted Facebook messages. My assistant deleted them. And me? I kept building. I launched a mentorship program for girls in foster care. I hosted annual retreats for young women who'd been abandoned, abused, or ignored. And every time I saw one of them step on stage to tell their story, I felt it. That 9-year-old girl at the train station? She finally made it home. Just not the home my parents expected. Sometimes the family we're born into isn't the one that deserves us. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful answer we'll ever give. I spent years trying to understand why they did it, why they left me there, why they never came looking. And maybe I'll never get a clean answer. But what I do know is this: what they meant to break me made me. Not everyone gets closure. Not everyone gets justice. But we can choose peace. We can choose to heal, to grow, and to rise. I didn't take revenge with fury. I took it with silence, success, and self-worth. That was enough. So now I'll ask you this. What would you have done if you were left at that train station and the ones who abandoned you came knocking years later? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories of silent revenge and powerful transformation.